Hey guys, welcome back yet again to Final Sector, and we are here to preview the Spanish Grand Prix. Supposed to be the end of a triple header, instead it's the end of a double header, and yet it still feels like we've had a triple header because there's been so much F1, maybe just so much good motorsport, and that's why it's felt like there's a lot. But we are heading into Spain. We are heading into the first proper track that we're seeing a lot of teams who either brought upgrades to Monaco or plan to bring upgrades to Spain this weekend. To see how it all falls out. And we are, recording this quite close to the weekend, which means already from, pictures leading up to the week, there's a lot of changes up and down the grid. There's a lot of talk. There's changes to the track. We're gonna go into it. What are what are you seeing out there? What are you excited to see this weekend?
The upgrades and all that, I think, is definitely something to be very interested in. I know Mercedes say that they have a lot more to bring with their package that they had, and they got P4, P5, didn't they? And in Monaco again,
yes,
different track. Can't really take that as gospel. But given they had a completely new car at Monaco, it still bodes well that they
went P19, P20 during qualifying.
Yeah, so I think I think Mercedes, if they can get some good running during the free practice sessions, Barcelona obviously it's the first year they haven't had testing here. Which I think will also, change things up a bit. You haven't had, 3 days of running pre-season, so
yes,
having to get used to all that with the new cars, I think is something that they'll want to be doing. As you'll probably talk about, we've got no more fiddly chicane at the end as well. So how best to take that corner? Everyone will want to get out there and do that as well. So, but yeah, I think teams to look out for. In particular, you'd have to say Mercedes and McLaren, because I think McLaren said they were bringing quite a bit upgrade as well for Barcelona, and they're one that's touted to, they've been kind of teasing towards when they eventually get all their big upgrades, like, oh, that's when we'll come back into it. So I think maybe those two teams are to keep an eye out, and obviously Mercedes, I think they could, if they can get on top of it and get to the front, and hopefully we'll see McLaren there as well. But as you say, like, just about every team, I think, has taken a pretty significant package as of the last two races now.
It's not just some that are, doubling down and kind of improving their package. We saw Mercedes, obviously, the big story being kind of moving away from their, failed attempt at the zero side pods, going towards a more, almost like a hybrid kind of Red Bull, Aston, Ferrari thing, but more so traditional side pods you can actually, see and are sticking out there. Based on what I've seen so far, it seems that Ferrari is doing a little bit of a change where some of the detailing they had on the top of their side pods seems to have almost flattened out a bit. So it seems like that's like not... we knew it would be a significant update, but it's less kind of doubling down what they had, more on something a little different, going kind of down a different way. Not necessarily more like Red Bull or Aston Martin, just something a bit different, which is interesting. So it leads a question of saying... is this them shooting in the dark and they're actually going to end up shooting their foot, or are they actually got something, sneaky planned here? Of course, we have to see if the drivers can put it together. There's maybe a few question marks around both of them from their performance so far this year. So we'll have to see. But of course, we've got a few drivers here that it's their home race, in Alonso and in Sainz. Probably the first year they've both been very competitive. So as much as Drive to Survive has tried to have episodes where they are rivals, it's never really worked, if you like. So been at different ends of the grid. But here you could argue, with Ferrari's new package, with Alonso on a good streak, you could argue both of them could be in contention for a podium here, so that might be an exciting kind of inter-country fight that we've got going on. There's a lot of upgrades. I haven't really looked at the smaller teams, but as you say, across the board, this is point in the calendar where a lot of teams, especially ones like McLaren, which are kind of saying, hold on, we're going to do something big here. Are all coming together, so it'll be very interesting. The pecking order could switch around a fair bit here. We'll have to see how the weekend progresses. On track changes, look, we have had some recent changes here. Of course, the what do you call it, that tight left-hander we used to have kind of about 60% of the way through the track. And one thing that everyone also asked for was them to try and play with the old circuit where as you come into the last sector, currently, you would slow down, go into kind of a tight right, into a really clumsy left-right just to slow the cars down. They always said for safety and other reasons they couldn't do it. But earlier in the year, they basically said, we figured it out. We're going to do it. We're going to run with the with the old layout, basically, where you, instead of all that twisty bit, you have quite a quick, fast right-hander, which I would suspect they should be able to take flat.
Yeah.
And then you've got the last corner, which actually becomes really tricky, especially in qualifying, because I'm not sure if these cars will be able to take that flat or if it'll be close. I haven't seen that much on it. I know in some...
I'm just saying, like, sorry to cut you off. I'm just a thought entered my head. I wonder what that's going to do for tire wear as well. You know, that front left tire. Particularly 2 more fast right-hand corners.
Because it's not like it's cambered, right? It's not like somewhere like Netherlands where you have some of those corners, but they're cambered, so it takes some of the load off. It's similar to even like Portugal. We have a kind of fast right-hander, but that's almost on a bit of a hill and it's a bit cambered. It's not that stressful. But here, especially that last corner, even if they are going flat, it's a flat kind of tarmac. That's a lot of load on the tire.
Yeah.
And you can imagine if you're on a hard versus a soft, that speed you could take through there could drastically differ.
Yeah,
so I think...
Well, I'm just thinking even like pit stop strategies as well, because I think 2-stop has been a viable strategy in Spain for a while now, particularly last year, and it was a definite viable strategy. So I wonder if that's going to make teams think about, if we can't get these tires to last, maybe a 2, maybe even a 3-stop. It depends on the temperatures, I guess. If it's quite a hot weekend... Could a 3-stopper work? If we've
had a lot of 1-stops, right? We'll take the 2 and ambitious 2. There could be a 3 though. It depends. It depends what tires they pick it, right? You know.
True,
but I think we'll take a 2. A 2 versus a 1 would still be better than just a flat 1.
Definitely.
But, look, this track has been okay for overtaking, but it would make it a little easier to overtake down that main straight. Because I guess you're coming out of a less of a clumsy corner where if you're in dirty air that hurts. You've got more of almost like a quote unquote straight, right, where you can start to gain on someone and get that slip through those corners. So it's gonna be interesting to see the change. I think unlike the previous change they had, which some people are like, this seems like a nothing change. It's kind of for safety or whatever, but it doesn't really aid. It arguably took away an overtaking zone, you could say.
Yeah.
This is something people have been asking for since they took it away. So immediately everyone's like, great, let's see it. Let's see some cars flying around there and some cars speeding down the pit straight, fighting side by side. Going back on our predictions, we both get 2 for predicting the same P1, P2. I think us both going for Alonso for P2 and a bit of a Hail Mary actually worked out quite well.
Yeah, definitely.
And then of course I went for Perez. We saw what happened to that. Yeah, and then you went for Leclerc, and unfortunately it could have happened, maybe a signs, but then as we say, Ocon kind of got in there. Kudos to whoever predicted that. He certainly deserved it. Yep. But so instead we both just get +2, which means we're still only 2 points ahead. I think it's 9.5 against 11.5, so it's still all to play for. Neither of us got the wild card, but we'll have to see what the wild card is for this week, shall we?
Definitely.
Is P20.
Oh, that's
going to
tough.
crash out first. We haven't had one like this. We had like a 17 or an 18, I think.
P20 is like literally there's going to be someone crash out. So it's not going to be like, we can just say it's Sargent or Debris or, someone right at the back. It's like, no, there's very good chance someone retire. God, I don't know.
I'm still going to go Sargent because I even think he might be a bit rocky here.
Okay.
In terms of if someo's going to spin it out early.
Yeah, okay.
I've just got to... I want to snipe it because if you take it, I'll be like...
No, I don't think I was going to go Sargent. You know what? Let's go like stupid crazy. Let's just say Esteban Ocon. I think he needs to be brought down a peg after his Monaco.
No.
It's based on entirely nothing, but let's say he gets into a crash or some kind of retirement.
If you're listening at home and you got an idea or a prediction, who you think's going to crash out, fail, what team's going to fumble the ball, might not even make the start of the race, who knows? Let us know your picks. Maybe you'll pick a Dragovic and somehow it'll work out. We come to our top 3. I don't want to spoil things. I might have a bit of deja vu going on here. I had to check I had the right notes up. I'm like, no, I have maybe, some similarities to some recent events.
Yes.
Maybe you can enlighten the fans on some, masterful strategy that you've got going on for you.
It's gonna be Max P1. Hooray!
Hooray!
I'm still trying to work out P2, P3 in my head, but it's Max P1, isn't it?
Yes. It's not as obvious. I was even saying to I was talking to a coworker, and he even said, for P2, what's it looking like? I'm like,
I'm not sure.
It's close. It's close there between the two of them. Two of them being, I guess, Alonso, Perez at this stage. Alonso's on such a roll. Perez could get there, but it's not a definite. And if anything, you'd argue Alonso could be improving in that Aston Martin. I'd argue would stay with them or continue to improve, given they're on a brand new concept. So
I also do still think Ferrari were very strong here last year, and despite their issues, of course, but they were leading for a while. But
yes, they were.
Yes,
big upset.
Yes.
But have you put a Ferrari in P2 or P3?
I haven't. I still think they could be strong, but I haven't. I think Ferrari are back to their old ways. So I don't trust that. And I also think Perez has started to lose the plot a little bit. So I actually don't have him in P2, P3 either.
Okay.
I do have Alonso P2 though. So we'll go. Yeah, I think he's on a high at the moment. Like even he could be rightfully upset about only getting P2 at Monaco. And he still was like over the moon that he was as close as he was in the first place. I think he's just riding the wave of Aston Martin right now. He's just super happy to be in a car that's actually competitive. And I think he'll just ride that until he probably eventually wins a race. So but yeah, I think he could be P2 this weekend for sure. Have you gone Alonso as well?
Yes, I have echoed your sentiment. Echoed the same. Wow. I think there's as I say, not enough to say from external teams at the moment. The only other one that you would argue, as you say, is Perez, but I think Alonso has been strong here. And of course, he's, if there's anyone he's even going to try to win, it's probably going to be this race, right? True, so he's going to give it he's going to give it 120%. He already gives it 110%. So he's going to amp it up even more. So outside of, acts of God, then I think, unless he's the act of God himself, but we'll have to see. But yeah. P2 was a pretty easy pick for me.
Sounds like you probably got Perez P3 then.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I still think it's a fairly safe weekend for him to just cash the check.
Yeah.
As I say, I think I wouldn't mind if there was a bit of a battle for P2. I don't think there'll be much of a fight for P1. Other circumstances outstanding that we can't predict in this sort of forum, of course. But yes, that's. As I say, copy-paste of last round, which was not intentional, but
it's just
same rules still apply.
It's, considering the podiums we've had so far, that's mainly been the same 2 or 3 people up there, so I can't really blame you.
Yep.
I'm going with a Hail Mary for my P3. As I said, I've not got a Ferrari and I've not got a Perez up there. So I've actually got Lewis Hamilton as P3.
Okay. Yep.
I do sort of half expect Mercedes to get a lot of running, and actually their package, I think they'll find to have a lot more pace than maybe even they expected. This track is, is something that he knows basically like the back of his hand. He's been here how many years now? I think he could do very, very well here. So I'm kind of backing Mercedes to improve their package quite a lot. I still think they'll be off the pace of the Red Bulls and the Astons, but
the ultimate pace, I agree.
Yeah, but, I think there could be. I think the race in particular, I think strategy calls, I think, are going to play a big part. Like I said, if there's a 2-stop, so far Mercedes this year have shown that they are just absolutely on top of strategy. Like anytime there's a position to be made because someone else has made poor strategy, they're always on top of it and they're always there to gain the place. So I don't think it'll be George. I think Hamilton will get the one up on George this weekend, despite how much George might want to try and be like, I'm faster,
engineer
engineer it. Yeah, so
yes.
So bit of a Hail Mary. I'm not sure how it'll play out, but I expect actually to be, from, I was going to say P2, but like P2, P3 down to maybe P6, I expect it to be very close.
I think there's maybe a few other little things to mention. I saw some interesting comments out of off the back of Monaco from Alpine, almost saying this level of performance that we're doing should be now the new minimum that we want to be at, fighting with Mercedes and such.
Okay.
I went a little bit like, that's interesting. Yes, as we talked about in our debrief of Monaco, that pace it wasn't necessarily lucked into. Like for qualifying and over the weekend, Ocon was genuinely quick, but it was at Monaco, right?
Yeah.
Not to say that things like engine and power and all of that are poor for that car, but it's, you know, if he had done this at Bahrain or somewhere else, you might go, hey, that looks pretty good. They didn't, right? So it'll be interesting to see if they actually are up there fighting, almost, you know, at the top of the midfield, biting at the ankles of those that are struggling at the top. I mean, I'd like to see it more. I'd like to see every team in the midfield doing it.
Definitely.
But felt that was a little ambitious, and felt like I wanted to mention it as well.
Yeah, Alpine are a bit weird at the moment. The management is not. I think it's a little topsy turvy there from a lot of the comments coming out of that camp. But you know, if they can keep it up, then really no one can complain, I guess. But if they fall and then the team starts blaming them again, then who knows? Yeah. Then we could have a big explosion, and who knows what's going to happen from there.
No, and as we say, they even for Australia, they actually had decent race pace, kind of keeping up with, you know, the front runners and all that.
Doing quite well there.
So it's obviously that is there. And fair enough, they say that's the baseline because they know it's theirs. But yeah, you know, there's obviously other reasons behind the scenes, setup wise, driver wise, whatever, that means they're not hitting it every weekend. But we'll see. Maybe they will, and then we'll have, as we say, another team in there. Troubling Ferrari or Mercedes or even Perez, and that if they slip up, less room for error and just to grab a free podium anymore. It's exciting.
I think Stroll needs to do something as well. I think
that was the other one. Yes.
Yep. I think they've
big weekend for Stroll.
Big one for Stroll, because I think he was doing okay for a bit, and now Alonso is being like, okay, now Stroll, you need to sort of get a little closer.
Hey, look, guys, let us know your predictions, your thoughts if you have any. Otherwise, be sure to tune into Practice and all the news online that all those good journalists do. So we'll be back to debrief it afterwards, of course, and see what happened. Hopefully something exciting. Have a look to see if the changes work out, which I think they will. And other than that, enjoy the weekend, and we'll be back for the debrief.
No worries. Take care. Bye.
Catch you around, everyone.